When you look at a map of China today, you'll notice Xinjiang, formerly known as Sang, is firmly part of China. But if history had taken a different turn, Xinjiang might not be on that map, just like Mongolia, which declared independence and was recognized as a separate state. This raises an interesting question. Why did the Soviet Union give up Xinjiang but keep Mongolia independent? The turbulent years. After the fall of the Qing dynasty in 1911, China descended into chaos. The country fragmented, with various warlords controlling independent regions. Some of these areas, especially those bordering the Soviet Union, came under significant Soviet influence. Mongolia broke away early, becoming a Soviet-backed puppet state and eventually gaining recognized independence. Xinjiang, Sang, followed a similar path, though its fate would turn out very differently. Xinjiang's struggles and Soviet influence. In the 1930s, Xinjiang was a highly unstable region. The Han Chinese-dominated government struggled to maintain control over a mostly Uyghur and Turkic Muslim population. Discriminatory policies, such as banning fatwas and excluding Uyghurs from government positions, led to widespread unrest. In 1931, tensions exploded into rebellion, supported by an invasion from the neighboring Ma clique, a group of Muslim Chinese forces. Facing potential collapse, Xinjiang's governor, Chiang Shikai, sought help from the Soviet Union. The Soviets, worried that the rebellion could spill into their own territories with significant Turkic Muslim populations, agreed to intervene. With Soviet military aid, Chiang crushed the rebellion, but at a cost. Xinjiang became a Soviet puppet. Soviet troops were stationed there. The Russian language gained prominence. Land was redistributed following Soviet models. A secret police force modeled after the NKVD was established. But this Soviet dominance didn't last long. In 1941, when Nazi Germany invaded the USSR, Chiang saw an opportunity. He expelled Soviet officials and purged communists from his government, effectively cutting ties with Moscow. The East Turkestan Republic and Soviet interests, angered by Chiang's betrayal, the Soviets switched tactics. They began backing Muslim rebels who, in 1944, declared the establishment of the East Turkestan Republic in Xinjiang's 3 districts. Like Mongolia before it, this new republic was under Soviet control. At this point, it seemed logical that the USSR would want to solidify its hold on at least part of Xinjiang, just as it had done with Mongolia. And they tried. As the Chinese Civil War raged on between Chiang Kai-shek's nationalists and Mao Zedong's communists, the Soviets saw an opportunity. They proposed a deal to Chiang, who was still the internationally recognized leader of China, recognize the East Turkestan Republic's independence in exchange for Soviet support, or, at the very least, economic privileges. But Chiang refused. Despite losing the war to the communists, he wasn't willing to give up Xinjiang, especially with the Soviets demanding significant concessions. Why did the Soviets let Xinjiang go? The turning point came when Mao's People's Liberation Army, PLA, advanced into Xinjiang in 1949. While the Soviets had backed the East Turkestan Republic, they didn't have the leverage they had with Mongolia. A few key reasons explain why the USSR let Xinjiang go. Mistrust between Stalin and Mao. Despite their shared communist ideology, Stalin and Mao didn't fully trust each other. Stalin viewed Mao as a Chinese nationalist first and a communist second. Keeping Xinjiang as a Soviet puppet could have provoked tensions with Mao's newly victorious government, something Stalin wanted to avoid. No diplomatic deal. With no formal agreement with Chiang Kai-shek recognizing East Turkestan's independence, as there had been with Mongolia in 1945, the Soviets lacked a legitimate reason to block the PLA from moving into Xinjiang. Strategic calculations. Stalin may have calculated that maintaining friendly relations with Mao's People's Republic of China was more valuable than controlling a rebellious and remote territory like Xinjiang. The peaceful annexation of Xinjiang. When Mao's forces reached the borders of the East Turkestan Republic, the Soviet Union didn't intervene. Surprisingly, the East Turkestan Army didn't resist. Instead, they were peacefully annexed into the People's Republic of China, with many of their soldiers being celebrated as heroes for their previous resistance against the nationalists. And just like that, Xinjiang was back under Chinese control, a stark contrast to Mongolia's fate. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this dive into history, consider subscribing.